Hey cats, what's happening? Hey, before we get started, this video is for bikers. If you're not a biker, you might as well head on, look for some other videos. Maybe there's some new Justin Bieber videos out there for you, something like that. This is for bikers, okay? I'm tired of the yuppies, the rubs, the wannabes, who watch these videos and then they comment on them and make all kinds of smart-ass remarks when they don't know what they're talking about. So, I don't care what you ride, if it's a Jap bike, a crotch rocket, a Harley, a Yamaha, Suzuki, whatever. If you're a biker, this is for you. It's just as simple as that, you know. Anyway, just a chit-chat today. Some stories are probably better off left untold, but I tend to think those are always the best ones. It's like, if you've got a story you don't want to tell me, I want to hear it. You know, well, today, let's talk about crashing. You know, if you've been on a bike, if you ever spend any time on a bike, you gotta admit it, you've crashed. Whether you've just tipped it over in the garage or out in the driveway, or really bit the dust hard on the road. Been there, done that. All of the above. Unfortunately, some of the times, I would have to say it was back in the day when I was a little bit inebriated. I don't recommend that, folks. Not a good habit at all. Yeah, I used to go to the bar, tip a few, and then get on this thing and go. And there's times when I almost needed to have somebody hold the bike for me while I got on it, just so I could take off. Not very smart. One time I left the bar, took off across the parking lot, and I hit a pothole, a big honking pothole, which kind of threw me back in the saddle. I goosed the throttle, the bike shot off like a rocket, ended up spinning around in the middle of the road, and I tumbled around in the parking lot and got up. No scratches, no hurts, just hurt my pride a little bit. Fortunately, some good friends of mine yanked the keys out of the bike, pushed it up in the parking lot, and wouldn't give me the keys until I sobered up. So I ended up sitting there on the curb for a couple hours until they finally tossed me the keys back and let me drive home. Not one of my most memorial times. Crashing is inevitable, you know, with the traffic today, the way things are, you gotta be a defensive driver, man. You gotta watch out. You gotta be watching with 4 eyes all the time. You gotta watch your mirrors for those jerks behind you too, because they're not paying attention. You probably saw the latest video on YouTube where the couple is riding their Harley down the highway at night, and the trooper's coming up behind him, and he's got his camera on his car, his dash cam going, and he doesn't even see these people. He comes right up behind him, bam, takes him out. Both people flew over the top of the squad car. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But man, you gotta be defensive. You gotta watch all over the place. And even that's not gonna help you sometimes because it happens really quick. Look for defensive maneuvers, you know. Look for a way out. Sometimes you're better off to go into the ditch than to go head on in the traffic. So, you know, it's split-second decisions, but those are things that may save your life. You might get hurt, you might get messed up a little bit, but if you're going to live through it, that's the main thing. I put my bike down real bad once out in Des Moines, Iowa. I was on my way back from Sturgis, and it was probably about midnight, a little after, and I was in the hammer lane doing about 70 miles an hour, just cruising, and I was looking for a place to stop, and a car came up behind me at a very high rate of speed, and he was over in the slow lane, traveling very fast, and there was a semi in front of me over in the slow lane. Well, this car had focused on going around the semi, but it was like I was invisible. And he came right up against me and ran me off the road. Well, at 70 miles an hour, I didn't have much room for error, and there wasn't anything that I could really do. I barely missed the end of a guardrail, and as I went off the highway, it was pitch black. I went down over a ravine. Managed to stay on the bike. I kind of rode it like a dirt bike. I stayed right on it. I was pretty sure I was going to die at that moment, and the only thing that came to my mind was I prayed to God. I prayed to Jesus to save me. And I really believe he answered my prayer because I lived. I'm here. I rode the bike all the way down that ravine and crashed down at the bottom. I was probably doing closer to 30 miles an hour when I wiped out. Took quite a tumble and totaled the bike. The bike had to be pulled out of there by a retrieval company, and I was eventually able to find somebody to give me assistance, and I was taken in the ambulance to the hospital where I suffered some broken ribs and some minor bruises and aches and pains. But it was very fortunate for me because it could have ended up real ugly. So crashing, yeah, it happens. Be ready for it. Always be ready for it. When you're out on the road, man, always look out for that other guy. Always expect the worst. Always expect that car's coming out, you know. Don't take it for granted. Watch that guy in your mirror. Take it for granted he ain't gonna stop. He's gonna come up behind you. Be ready to take off and get out of his way. You know, it doesn't always work that way, but it pays to be attentive and to be on it. So, hey, good riding. I'm gonna take a little spin. Hope you can join me.